this out. Whoa! Man, is it raining. So right in here is my fuel filter. I put a new one on, but this has a rubber piece on it that goes in a holder right back here. Well, if you shove that forward and get it on, it's up like that. Now the hose in front of it, you can see how it's bent at a 90-degree angle, and that is pretty tight bend. It's going to slow down the fuel some maybe. That's why he had it. Somebody had just left it go. Maybe they replaced this line or something. But and then you have a piece of hose here, then it goes into a metal tubing clear down here and into the tank. Now, something I want to explain. If you would have, they do this and they clamp it here and they want it clamped here. They want this pretty solid. They don't want this bouncing around like this. And what I'm going to do is, well, first thing I did was I got some new hose for this up here. Cause this hose down here too, I can feel it's pretty hard. It's been on there probably a good while, so I'll take this, remove it, put new on. I could maybe shorten this one up, bring it back some so I get a little bit gentle bend up there. But something I want to show, I'll go over on the bench and I'll show you something about a fuel line. One other thing I noticed on this was the cover that goes over the air filter. It uses screws like this. They're Phillips screws, and there was one missing. So the closest, well, the only thing I had that would fit is this. It was right length and everything, but it's an Allen. So every time you go to take the cover off, you have to have an Allen, and the rest are Phillips. So as I was working on the bike, I noticed this line is plugged off, and there's probably some other ones. He removed the air induction system on this motor. But what I found was, if you look at the end of that, what he used was that screw he took out. It has to be, because if you look at them, they're the same. So, I mean, you know, well, he did what he did. I would have went and I would have got something, even if I had, well, I have a lathe, I could have turned a plug for that. But I'll take that out and put something else in there and put that screw back in the air filter. No big deal, but I mean, it's just, I don't work that way. How I ended fixing my situation with the fuel line is I put this on here where it's supposed to be the filter. Then I put new hose from here back to here to the solid line. I put a piece of red heat shrink over this right here to just firm it up a little bit, helps it. And then this in here, that is all down lower than it was, those pipes back in there. What they were was they had the lines come back, and I don't know if they were original or if they changed them, but you can see how what I took off was like that. They come out and they bend upward, and this piece back here that goes from two hoses to one for the fuel line was clear up here. It was too high. It was come out and bent upward. So I took all this off from the air filter, and I did it like that, and then put a new piece right here. And if it wouldn't have been for these pliers, I got a set of three of these, and they're different sizes for hose, and you can reach back in there and get back on them to push them in place. These are so fantastic for working with this. Whoops. In fact, I can turn them around. There's the way I used them, back in there, and then you can really reach back in here, grab them, and push them on. And what I would do was put a little gasoline on the tubes so that slide on better. I still have to put these spring clamps back, but I can push them back. I got all the rest of the clamps on. This is all done. And I knew it, I didn't think it was right the way this was way up here, kind of come out and bent up. Then it was so, right here, this was a pipe that was on it, was this one right here, and it made a 90-degree angle, but it was so jammed, this came forward some, and it was like that, and it was really, I think, restricting a little bit of flow. It seemed to run all right and everything, but I just didn't like this. This is a more gentle and a newer pipe. This pipe's kind of hard, and the one that was back here was really hard. I think it was just age. And the part of the air filter that I took off, this ring that goes down in here, once you get it over top of this, this is your intake down here for the air. And that's why they have this hose here. This comes off of an opening in the front that kind of rams the air back, and it's right by this opening for your, that goes up into the air filter. And I think that's helped to get air right in there. And if you look on this part right here, you can see it was rubbed. It was like, that's where that piece was. It was rubbing here. And so it must have been working, because this is all rubbed. And I thought, so I took it all apart, and I thought I'll just route it myself, get it down lower with some shorter pipes so that it don't have a bend coming out and bend up. And it worked. It just took time putting it in. But it's so much better. So now I want to show on the bench about something and describe something, and the reason I planned on doing this especially. I wanted to put a new fuel filter in, but I definitely wanted this changed, get this lower so it fits better. It's not rubbing that part. Showing that it rubbed, this must have been flexing, because it didn't have nothing holding it here. It was attached clear back here solid, but from here clear up to there, it wasn't. There's nothing to hold it. Well, that's why they have this bracket on it. So let me get that set up and I'll show you. A couple final words on this is, when I put those two hoses in there, one is longer than the other, where they come out and one up, and I shorten them so they fit down in where they should, in case you'd have a bike like the ST1100. And the two lengths of those pipes, one is 2.5 and one is 2 7/8. I thought I'd pass that along. That way you don't have to do like I did, and I cut a couple of them to get the right size. Here's what I want to show. On, say, a fuel line, it could be water, oil, anything. Now we'll talk about the oil or the fuel line. It goes along your frame like this, and I have a clamp here. It's squeezing down this way, but if you had a clamp on your bike, it would be like rounded like the tube, so it don't crush it. But you'd have it here, and you might have one over here or one here, you know. So this is kind of solid with the bike. They might have some pull ties in between, because if you had a line, and we'll say you have a piece of equipment right in here, and you don't want it to lay on there and rub it, so you kind of bend it up around, and you would put a clamp over here like that. Especially the bigger this hump is, the worse it could be. Once you have it clamped over here, you need to clamp it here in the middle somehow. You can go that way, you can go this way, you know, any which directions. And if you've ever looked on the bike, you might see like where there's a wire, and it's around it's a heavy wire around a bolt. It comes out and then has a circle in, and your tubing goes through it. That's what it's doing. It's making this solid. Because like I showed on there, that plastic was rubbed. That not being in the holder, it was vibrating. Well, there's certain times where if this vibrates, and where I learned this is from working on aircraft, because my airplane, I had a 5-gallon tank in the fuselage, and I put 2 5-gallon tanks, one in each wing, and I had to reroute it. I had to go down to Y and then on down. And I had to make sure it was right, because if I would have had a loop like this, and say especially with this out in the air, and that's probably why that vibrated, that scoops right there, and that air's going in right where it goes up past there, to go into the air filter. Well, that thing was vibrating because you could see how it was chewed up. What happens is this line with the gasoline going through it, it could start vibrating, and it could start and get worse and worse, and it gets a certain harmonic rhythm going. And what it'll do is it'll make it that when it's vibrating at a certain vibration, fluid won't go through it. It'll actually stop fluid from going through that line. So that's what you have to watch if you're ever dealing with your lines on your bike. Make sure they go down fat along the frame, pull tie them, whatever you want to. A lot of times they'll have clamps on the frame that, you know, you loosen and it goes across the fuel line, and then you tighten it back up and it holds it. But that's one warning, is you do not want that vibration. So if you had a piece of, like I said, equipment here, you'd have to, you know, get a mount on this so it's solid, so it isn't going to vibrate. And I just wanted to pass that along. So now, as you see, this is the intake for your air filter right here. And instead of that pipe coming up and jammed up in here and scarring that and vibrating, it's down below it now. It isn't even touching it. That's the way it should be. That's out of the way. It's where it should be. Just that little bit of time. Now I understand this. This pipe, it looks like a vacuum cleaner hose. It goes up to the front to an air scoop, and it is to get air more down in here and up through there, that channel there, up into your air filter. Because back in here, how much air is it going to get? Where with this, it's kind of like ramming air in here to help it. That's what, because when I first seen it, I like, what in the world? They must have wanted for cooling or something. But now I understand. That's the way that works. So it's pretty good. It's all put in place, and I put the screw yet out, and I put the Allen screw in this to plug it off. And there's 4 of these, one on each carb. That was for that air induction system. That has to do with emissions. It helps to reburn a little bit of your exhaust. You know, you really don't have to have it. And he eliminated it, and he had it on the listing where it was listed, and I thought, that's good, I don't want it anyway. So I got a lot done. I got some more stuff put on the bike. I can move to the other side, and these bikes are known for that one connector burning out. They call it the red wire bypass for the Honda ST1100, and there's guys on there, there's a good many of them show it, so I won't bother showing it, but I'm going to do mine because mine isn't hurt. But you could be out along the road any place and that could turn up. Then what are you going to do? You can't, it shuts your bike off. You can't get to some place to even get it fixed. You know, you're going to have to call somebody to go and haul it there, and you can sit there and fix it or whatever. Or like now, I'll do it on mine, even though it don't need it. I'll do it. I'm done with it. So ride safe, have a good day. And man, it rained hard today, really hard. So anyway, have a good day.